Wake up, everybody. It is time for the XP Billionaires podcast. We got Rafe, Sky, Mel. We are coming at you hot, hard, and I don't know why we're going this hard, but you know what? We are. So that is how it's going today on the XP Billionaires podcast. So
you're trying to wake us up, aren't you?
I don't know. Did it work?
The question is, does it work?
Well, I'm slightly more alert now, so I guess.
Ooh.
All right. I'll take it. Let's see if we can work with something a little faster, a little harder next time. I don't know. Get those hard, fast intros going. Maybe we need more upbeat music. I don't know. All righty. So yeah, let's take this from a normal pace. We're at the XP Billionaires podcast, like we said. We got Rafe, Sky, Mel already here, clearly awake now. So let's say hello to our intrepid hosts. Sky, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'll probably be done it by the time this comes out, but I'm close-ish to the end of Skies of Arcadia Legends now. And my next plan is to play Atelier Ryza 2 when it arrives. Which I'm quite excited for because Ryza 1 became my favorite Atelier game. So hopefully they can do an even better job on this one.
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, remind me later to show you when I pre-ordered the game for you, the EB website actually showed like the pre-order bonuses that you're going to get are a couple of basically like really long T-shirts for Ryza, and one of them is nothing but a Puni face, and it is so adorable.
Oh, I saw that. Yes, you know what? I've seen the pictures of that.
Oh man, it's so cute, and I expect you to at least wear it for a little bit while you're playing.
I'm sure I will, because who doesn't love some poonies?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Mel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I've been obsessively playing Phoenix Rising, Immortals, Phoenix Rising, and yeah, it's good. It's a good time filler, and I am done almost every side quest at this point. This is one of those games where I don't think I'll 100% it, but I'm definitely playing every quest that I see. Yeah, it's just a nice, fun, relaxing thing to do with your time.
No, amazing. I thought that's great. Yeah, I know when it comes to like, going into completionism, like I finally started Yakuza Like a Dragon, which I have been so very much enjoying. There's a lot of story to get started with, and I think I'm finally getting to the point where I can start doing just regular, like running around, doing side quests, that kind of thing. I'm actually thinking of going a little harder on getting more of the side quests done through this game, or really taking my time with it. I wanted to do that with at least some of the older Yakuza games, but because I was so behind on the story, it was really hard to want to do that when there was just so much more I wanted to know about what happened next. So now I don't have that because we don't have another game in the series yet. I can actually really take my time with this one and really get into the meat of it. So I'm actually really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and it's a very different experience, so you can really dig in and see what it has to offer. That's different from the original Yakuza model.
Oh, exactly. I'm everything that it looks like so far. Like I've gotten really, really basic combat stuff so far. I haven't had the chance to change the job system or whatever they've got for the game yet, but I'm really excited to get into all of it and see where it goes. That being said, let's get into this week's topic, which actually is a similar topic to something we did not that long ago. So we did I can't remember exactly when, but we had a discussion about optional content in RPG gaming. Definitely look into that episode through our website, xpbillionaires.ca. See if you can find it there. It's not that far back, but it is labeled optional content, so you'll be able to find it. In a lot of cases, a good amount of optional content, however, is only available after you've cleared the main game. So I wanted to expand on that previous episode and kind of more delve into post game content rather than just optional in general, just really kind of pinpoint this specific style. And the first thing I want to ask everybody offhand, like what types of post game content that you all actually prefer? I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. For me, I want more story. It's plain and simple. Like, if you give me a chance to continue where the ending left off, then that's what I'm here for. I want more. Let me keep going. The thing is that you can't just do it for the sake of doing it. It has to feel like it belongs. If it's just a randomly tacked on extra storyline, I'm thinking the White Witch saga from Nino Cooney. That could have just as easily been a post game story rather than a main game story that they decided to do. Like it really needs to feel right, and they tried with that one, but it didn't feel the same. So like I really wanted to kind of feel good. I mean, I also am okay with the idea of just being able to re-explore your world, especially if it's a sandbox game post game. That way, if you want to go back and redo some of the old quests, you can. Like talking about Yakuza just a second ago. After you finish most of the games, now you have the premium adventure mode where you can just run around, go from day to night, get the side quests that you missed if you want. So I really do appreciate that kind of thing. I don't know that those are the two big things that I really like about post game. Sky, what about you? What do you think?
I agree with you for the most part. Like more story is great. Maybe something a little more challenging as well. Nothing extreme. Like I'm not one of those people who enjoys super hard stuff, but I mean, for example, I really did enjoy the post-game dungeon in Atelier Iris Eternal Mana, which gave us both a little more story and a bit more challenge. Perhaps a lot more challenge when you hit the boss at the end of that dungeon. But generally speaking, I actually don't do very much post-game content because I'm generally ready to move on at the end of a game. It's got to be real good post-game content to entice me.
And that's completely fair. I mean, you have to have enjoyed the game enough to want that content to actually be what you're looking for and give you a chance to get up and pick it up again. So, like, I think it's a mixture of is the content worth it and is the game worth it.
Well, that's it exactly. And like, am I fatigued already? You know, like often, particularly with longer RPGs and whatnot, when I hit the end of the game, I am ready to be done the game. Like I'm already jonesing mostly for something new. I am the type to finish games regardless, but once the credits roll, it's really hard to not just put the game down even if there's significant post-game content.
Well, in some cases for that, you also got to know what you're looking for because sometimes that first credit roll is a fake.
That annoys me. It really does.
All right, Mel, what do you think? What do you like out of post game, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time we did this topic, I was sort of like pretty against it in general. And I think my opinion is sort of changing about post game content the older I get. I don't know. It's just more and more, I think, like developers are making products that take a long time to come out and that, giving them an extra year to make a side quest is maybe worth it sometimes. So regardless, I don't tend to play a lot of games once I finish them. I tend to go through a game and then work on my enormous list of games that I need to play again, or I need to play through the first time. So I will say that as far as kind of post-game stuff goes, I really like the way that Nier does it. I really like the idea of adding information, then reframing the story in some way. I've played a few games where there's things kind of like this, where you can like learn a language over the course of the game, and you pick up letters and swap them in, which is interesting. But generally, the creator of the game seems to have wanted you to know what was being said the first time through. So it's kind of interesting to see what was actually being said, but you sort of get the gist anyways. That's why Nier is so interesting, because they kind of are choosing to mislead you specifically to encourage you to play those alternate endings. So I think in that game, obviously, that's almost part of the game itself. But in general, I just I want something that really adds, reframes, or it gives me more about the characters that I'm going to find interesting.
No, exactly. And it's interesting that you bring up Nier, because it's so weird to consider things like that like a post game structure,
Mm-hmm.
because it's forcing you to replay the game over and over and over again. And it's the same with Nier Automata, where you have to play the game multiple times before you get a real feel for what's actually going on. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's an interesting way to do it, but at the same time, like, to Sky's point, like, once you're done a playthrough, it's hard to want to do another one immediately. Like, I mean, for me right now, I'm playing through Fire Emblem Three Houses while I'm at work, because it's easy for me to bring the Switch there right now. And I'm not gonna want to start another playthrough with another house right away. Like, that's I'm
Yeah.
good where I'm at right now. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm going to play another version of the game, even though I could get more information out of the story. It just,
True. I had the same feeling about Three Houses, actually. Like after that first playthrough, I'm just kind of like meh. It's not like it was bad. Um,
no,
and I don't think the Nier style would work for every game. It's something you expect from those games now. I don't think it's a system that will work forever, but I do think it's interesting how they've managed to make that part of the story.
The thing about this structure is actually it's it's more common in visual novels in terms of doing multiple playthroughs and then finding out more information with each successive playthrough, and then only really finishing the game with the final playthrough. The thing the thing is, it actually usually works better in visual novels due to their brevity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about that, but you're totally right. And so many of those games have like fast forward mechanics. So you can get to the point where the split happens that you want to play with.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, you make a really good point.
Yeah. Which it's fine if, say, one run through the story takes only 5 hours, you know? Like I cleared Collar X Malice in a week, like like from every perspective. But if each playthrough takes 40 hours, that's a real strain on the gamer's time and patience, for that matter.
no, absolutely, absolutely. So now that we talked about what you do prefer, what completely would turn you guys off from post game content? And I will tell you first off, right here, that if it was something that could have been in the main game, that is exactly it. So, bonus characters, gear, etc. The Disgaea games used to be so bad at this, because many of the cool characters that you could unlock that were from previous games would only be accessible post game. And I am not one of those crazy people who wants to get like super high end, max level, ungodly things. Although Disgaea 5 seems to do a fairly decent job of making that a little bit easier, which is really cool, and I appreciate that. But I I have no interest in doing a lot of that after I've cleared the main game. I've already done more than enough grinding, spent more than enough hours in the item world. I'm good. I'm ready to move on, and I don't want to have to grind up somebody right from one that I could have used in the main game, but you wouldn't let me.
Yeah, stuff like that's pretty. arbitrary, you know? Like there was no reason to do that. And really, I think a lot of us who are concerned with narrative games think that the ending is the ending, right? Like the natural point to stop finishing the game is when you hit the end credits, the end of the story. So anything afterwards can feel kind of eh with little point, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it adds a little extra fun and challenge and whatever you want to do for the game if you just want to keep playing it. Like if you're just that immersed in the world and you want to just keep being a part of it and keep going, cool. Like that's all well and good, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. It's just like there's just some things that don't need to be post game only in those particular instances. You know, post game, give yourself some more challenge, give yourself something a little stronger to fight, give yourself a reason to make all that grinding worthwhile when you played it during your playthrough. But you know, if you're gonna give me like bonus gear or new characters to make that just a more fun and interesting when odds are you've probably already built up a character that uses the same archetype as these old guys. It just almost seems pointless. So I can't. All right, Sky, did you have anything to add?
Well, one of the things I don't particularly like about post-game content is when it exists, when it doesn't make sense in the story for there to be a post-game. You know, with how the story ends, I mean. I know a lot of games will just put you right before the end sequence to do like post-game content. But that does feel weird to me. Like, okay, I fought the final boss, I've seen the end of the story, and then, oh, suddenly I'm back before the final boss to do additional content. And it's the same thing you were talking about. It just kind of feels like, why? Why wasn't this accessible before I cleared the final boss?
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. You actually just reminded me of one game that did that, and that was MS Saga. And I know we've talked about this one in the past, the Gundam RPG that was on the PS2. I remember after you beat the game, if you reload your save game, it starts you right back just before the final fight. But then it's like, oh, hey, this whole extra area just opened up, and there's some really powerful mobile suit signals there. And it's just so you can unlock the rest of like the Endless Waltz Gundams, other than the Wing Zero, because you already have that one at this point. It's just like, okay, but those are extra hard bosses. Like they're the original challenge bosses, but now you got to fight two of them at a time, and that just adds to the. It was such a tacked on difficulty. It was such a pain in the arse.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, you've already cleared the game. Like, there was no reason not to make those accessible.
Yeah, you already cleared the game, and you probably went and got the God Gundam already, and God only knows how difficult that fight was. So you don't need any more challenges in your life at that point.
Yeah, that game had some stupid hard fights, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my God. So much fun.
I love it, but oh my god.
Oh, so many times you just wanted to throw the controller. Wow. All right, let's simmer down a little. Mel, what what turns you off of post game content?
Simmer down with some more turnoffs. Um, for me, a lot of post game content seems to be about making a greater challenge for the players, and that's just not why I play games. There's very few games where I'm playing to challenge myself. Usually, it's exploration or storytelling or something else. So if the pitch is just that you made the enemies harder to kill and me easier to kill, it's not really for me. I don't really see the point. Why don't you just make it a difficulty slider and just let you choose? I'm also really not a fan of games that seem to imply that you have to keep playing, like where they track your like new game plus plus plus. Like the Dark Souls games where you have to play, a certain number of times through to get all the items you may want. I mean, again, it's just not for me, right? So for me, the big turnoff is just like if you're making it harder to give me one new thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I'm not sure why developers want to do so much of this type of gatekeeping, like why bury all these items in additional playthroughs? You know, like I understand they want people to keep playing the game, but most of these games, like it's not like they're subscription services, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but one of the things is that platforms also log your game time, whether you see it or not. So it gives them something to track. So the longer you're in the game, the more fun or the more popular they think that one thing is, which means that if they ever decide to create a sequel or another game in a similar style, they'll maintain, they'll try to keep some of the mechanics from that they feel is what's kind of drawing you in.
that is true, though that is not foolproof.
Oh God,
Um,
no, not at all.
yeah,
Yeah, so the assumption that you spend time on things you like is, I think we all know, not entirely true.
well, yeah, and like if it's still recording, like the thing about game time, timers is that sorry, every once in a while I have to put it in the menu and wander off to the bathroom. It's not like I turn off the game, right? And it
Oh,
just
yeah,
keeps.
oh, sorry. It just kind of made me think. Like I think back to a friend of ours that we gave a copy of Suikoden 5 to, and she would fall asleep while the game was still running. And this was a PS2 title, so I mean, it wasn't logging anything for the internet. But I remember one of her playthroughs was like 300 hours because she just let it keep going while she slept.
Yeah. And I mean, like, this is a game you can, like, I cleared it in 80 hours, but I did a lot of dicking around. Like, it's not. That's more than three times the the play the actual playtime she would have had.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. Like that's part of where some of these things end up being completely fallible. Is that there's a number of reasons why the game is running for that long. It's not necessarily because it's based on gameplay or enjoyment or anything like that. Like,
Well, yeah, to bring it back to the main point, that's absolutely right. So, like, I guess there has to be a minimum sort of hour number of hours if you're like deep into like new game plus 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 plus, but on the other hand, like I said, it's not like they're being paid by the hour that you're gaming, right?
no, no, exactly. Alrighty. So the last one. Now this is probably going to feel a little similar to the first question, but I just wanted to take that question one step further. So I mean, nowadays, especially nowadays, most of the post game content that comes out tends to be additional DLC content that's typically a paid option. Um, what kinds of post game content are you guys willing to pay for? When you see something like that. Like I was saying, like for me, this goes right back to question one. Expand my story, expand my characters, give me a lot more to do, and make sure that it's a game that and for me it has to be a game that I've really enjoyed. Um, if it's just one or two side missions, if if they're plot heavy or they're helpful, like I think of I don't remember the Arrival DLC from Mass Effect 2, I think it was. Like you kind of needed that one, and I still think that probably should have been in the main game, but semantics, whatever. But one of the ones like for me that would be a really great example is that I still at some point want to buy the expansion pass for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot because now they're expanding the story into the Dragon Ball Super series. So there's actually a lot more that you can do. There'll be a lot more fights. And it looks like there's still more coming. So we're probably going to see some more of the story arcs from Super happening, which will be really interesting because it's going to continue progression. It's going to continue a story that, yes, I am all that much more familiar with, but I think would be a hell of a lot of fun to play through. So, really exciting to see that's still happening. But yeah, just keep branching my game out, and I'll be happy. All right, Sky, what are you willing to pay for?
To be honest, usually I don't bother, particularly if the DLC comes out months after I've cleared the game. It's just too hard to go back to something after I've moved on. But I would be willing to pay for more story content for a game that I really, really loved.
Mhm.
For example, I do want to eventually get the DLC for Three Houses, Fire Emblem Three Houses, because I did really enjoy the game. I have only done one playthrough, but I mean, the DLC sounded interesting, and I do want to do more playthroughs. So that is the eventual plan. But I mean, for a lot of games, particularly for ones that I'm not like super, super passionate about, I simply wouldn't bother. Like, still haven't gotten the Pokemon Sword Shield expansion. So I don't know, it just hasn't happened, but I've moved on to other things.
Yeah, that is kind of what happened, isn't it? Like I kept thinking about it and keep seeing the ads for it, but I'm not drawn to playing it. Like I liked Sword and Shield. It was a great set of games, but yeah, I think if they were going to release that, that needed to be released way sooner. And yeah, I mean, there, the diehard Pokemon fans out there, like I not as diehard as I'd like to be, but I think that's why I probably haven't bought it myself. But yeah, I don't know. At this point, I'm more waiting for the next Pokemon game, whether it's another, if it's just a remake for the Switch or what, or a new gen. Doesn't matter for me. I will get the next one. But yeah, I think for the most part, I am done with Sword and Shield.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like often I would rather the developers spend time on a new game, like either the next in the series or a new IP or whatever. You know,
Man, new IP
I don't
is
want to necessarily rehash the same stuff.
feels like we've had like so many game series have just been repeating over and over with new series. I don't know. It's yeah, the idea of just like taking your energy and putting it into something new is so appealing.
Oh, I know. Like this is
Yeah.
one of the reasons why the indie scene is so exciting, because I think a lot of us have franchise fatigue, you know? Like
Yeah, for sure. Like I mean I love I get it. I get it. You liked it. You want to watch more of it. It's probably less of a argument that, you can say, well, people like this, so they'll like that, but God, I could use some new content.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. All right, Mel, what are you willing to pay for?
What am I willing to pay for? Um, I'm with Sky on this. It has to be a game I already loved, right? Like Horizon Zero Dawn. I bought Frozen Wilds right away, and I bought it because I liked the main game. Um, I pretty much like every DLC I've played for the same reason that it's a little side story about my friends that's apart from the main game. Again, we talked about the thing with Mass Effect, how you kind of had to have played one of the DLC for the plot to 3 to make any sense. I'm not a big fan of that. I'd much rather it be like a little aside. I like it when there's like this little hint, like somebody mentions offhandedly that, oh yeah, this is happening in the north, or this side thing is happening, or like in Dragon Age, when your main character is just kind of exploring the world and meeting new people, and you've got this new party that's just a temporary group of people that comes together. So that's my preference. I mean, yeah, generally, I'm not gonna buy it unless you made your game amazingly, and it really appealed to me. Which, I mean, I like a lot of games, but enough to buy like another part of them. One of the benefits about sequels is you have long enough between them coming out that you sort of forgot about the first game, and you're like, oh, I remember liking that, but you don't remember it enough to, play it right away.
That's a good point. I hadn't actually thought of that. Maybe sequels have always just been the better way to go about it. But I guess from a development standpoint, it's a lot cheaper to just tack on new content to an existing IP or to an existing game. So I wonder if they're kind of making a cost benefit analysis or something for that, just
Yeah.
to.
Well, and like a lot of games, like there's sort of expectations about sequels that they're a certain length, they have a certain amount of plot. Whereas DLCs can be just a nice little, 8-10 hour experience, and that's like perfectly acceptable.
Well, at the same time, too, like a game could plan or leave it open for a sequel to come out, and then it doesn't sell enough, so they don't bother. So it's a kind of a scenario where it's left hanging, and then the players get upset and they're waiting for this next game that's never going to come. So, I mean, usually this is a much safer bet because there's already people who have played the original game. Alrighty. Well, I guess that's going to be it for our conversation about post-game content. What are your guys' thoughts on it? Like, how many people are really, really, really big on post-game? Is it your thing? Do you move on the way we do? Let us know. You can do that by sending us an email. You can do that to our email address, which is xpbillionaires@gmail.com, or check us out on our social media. You can find me on Twitter at billionairesxp, or check out my Instagram at Ray Fegram for lots of gunpla photos. Sky, where can everyone find you?
I'm at SkyKnightXP on Twitter and SkyKnight.xp on Instagram.
And Mel, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Feminist Gamer on Instagram and Feminist Gamer 3 on Twitter, and you can check out my D&D game on Wednesdays on Twitch. That's called Darkness and Dragons.
Awesome. All right. And for all of our written work, which is features, quickfire reviews, and for links in order to support our cause and our show, you can find all of that at xpbillionaires.ca. All the links will be down below. All righty. So that is going to be it for us this week. And I guess in some ways, thanks to post-game content, they just have that one extra way where you might be able to keep gaming. So give it a shot if you like your game, and we'll see you next week.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.